Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to be a showrunner's assistant. So first of all, what is a showrunner? A showrunner is a person who leads a television show from start to finish. They're the ones who make all the decisions, creative, business, production, and otherwise, that have to do with making a television show great. So what is a showrunner's assistant? A showrunner's assistant is a person that helps coordinate the showrunner's day so that they can focus on the bigger picture items. Everyone needs answers from the showrunner, so your largest job is to field requests. So that's emails that will be coming in from production, from writers, from post-production. You're kind of making sure that all the balls are rolling and you're keeping them all in the air and they're getting answered by the showrunner in a timely manner. So sometimes the showrunner might need to approve costumes, it might be props for the set, it might be locations, it might be a budget. So as our assistant, you're making sure that the showrunner is getting time in with all of these people in order to get all of the needs met so that the production can keep on moving. And every day for a showrunner's assistant is different. Some days for me, I was answering calls. Some days I was responding to a ton of emails. Some days I'm watching auditions. As a showrunner's assistant, you are put in charge of their schedules. So you want to make sure that they are where they need to be on time. So a lot of times as an assistant, you're running around with your head cut off because you got to make sure that things are getting done and things are moving off your plate in a timely manner. So sometimes the showrunner splits their time between the writer's room and production. So typically before the showrunner goes on set, I make a binder for them. In the binder, it includes the schedules for the day, the script that they may need, location, props, anything that was talked about prior to the scenes that are being shot that day. And this kind of helps keep the showrunner organized. What are some of the skills that you need to be successful? Honestly, the biggest tip that I feel like I can give anybody is to know how to manage up. Be proactive with your boss. So take inventory of the things that your boss needs to operate well. Right? There's so much going on. They have to juggle so many things. Wait, instead of asking your boss, what do you need from me? Or what do you need help with today? You can still ask those questions. But if you come to them and you're like, hey, like I noticed that, you have this thing on your schedule next week. Or I noticed that you have a doctor's appointment and there's some forms that you need to fill out. You're one step ahead of them and you keep them on their game. Also, this is the point in your journey where you're going to be managing up and down. This is the point in your career where you are not only managing your boss, but you're also probably responsible for making sure the writers' PAs are doing what they need to do. You also need to be reliable, be on time, show up to get shit done. I feel like you know everything about your boss, like their social security number, their tax ID, their business, everything about them. So you have to be really trustworthy so that you can handle confidential information. Pay attention to detail. The showrunner heavily relies on you to make sure that not only are they where they need to be, but also that if something falls through the cracks for them, you're on top of it to make sure that it's picked up. So essentially, knowing how to manage up, paying attention to detail, being reliable, and being trustworthy, all of these things make you an indispensable assistant. So what are the pros and cons of being a showrunner's assistant? So a definite pro is you're getting a macro view of how television is created. You're not just in the writer's room. You're not just kind of dealing with the writers on a day-to-day basis. You're really seeing the showrunner maneuver from pre-production to post-production to the show, to when the show is on television. So you're getting a really intimate view as to how the television show is created. Also, you meet everybody. It's actually one of the greatest perks about the job. You meet celebrities, you meet directors, producers, writers, people who your showrunner has known for years, who might be on television or they might be in movies. You just meet so many people that you can build these great relationships with. For those of you interested in running a television show, it's a great job to have, especially because you get to shadow the showrunner on everything. And then just from a practical perspective, there's a little bit more job security as a showrunner's assistant, because even when the show ends, the showrunner typically has something in development or is working on another project and they already trust you, and so they want to continue working with you. So they may bring you along too to help with that project. So some cons about the job. I will say the first thing is some showrunners can treat you like their personal assistant. I think it's important when you go in for the interview to really ask how much of this is a showrunner assistant job and how much of this is a personal assistant job. Because even though you might be going in to learn the craft and really learn television, which you will do for sure. But because the showrunner is so busy handling every aspect of TV of their show, essentially their personal life also kind of falls to shit, as yours will, by the way, because you're going to be busy. You might be going in for a role that you're hoping is at least 95% work related. And depending on who you work for, it might be more like 60-40 or 50-50 even. So it's important to find out ahead of time how much of the role is work related and how much of it is personal. Also, another con is that, like I said in my How to Be a Writer's PA video, it's a long day. You're typically, you can be there anywhere from 8 to 12 to 14 hours, really depending on what's going on. If you need to be on set or whether or not you're just working in the office, it kind of depends. And sometimes showrunners in general, depending on whether or not they like their family or not, they may not want to go home. And so you're kind of stuck there making sure that they have what they need, which can be good or bad, right? Because on one hand, you're really learning a lot and you're getting the really intimate look of a showrunner's life, but also you have things to do too, right? Like, you want to go home, you have your own life to tend to, you're probably wanting to be a writer, so you have to go write your own scripts. You know what I mean? It's always going to be a little bit of a balancing act. So how did I get my showrunner's assistant job? I had actually interviewed with a showrunner to be their writer's assistant on some of their personal projects, and had a great interview, was hoping that I would get the job, and didn't get it. And I feel like how most of my life has been set up, I'm like, yeah, I got this thing, it went well, and then it's a no. We talked, I feel like there was similar energy, good vibes, everything, everything was really positive, but I didn't get the job, which that happens. This is Hollywood. There's a lot of people competing for this one job, right? But what she did do is she recommended me to another woman who became a showrunner on her first show. So I met with this new showrunner, we meshed, and I already had experience from working unscripted because I was an assistant to 2 EPs, which essentially was kind of like being an assistant to 2 showrunners, which was a lot. So I already had the basic knowledge of what I needed to do. I was a writer's PA prior to that, so I knew how to manage an office. I kind of had a lot of skills going for me. And I think that's what really helped. And so needless to say, we clicked and I became her assistant. And, from there, things were on the up and up. I will say a lot of showrunners assistant jobs do tend to be word of mouth, only because I think there's a certain level of experience. By the time you get to by the time you get to a showrunner's assistant job, there's a certain level of experience that the showrunner wants you to have coming in. Like, you're called a showrunner's assistant, but really you're like a manager. So by the time I had gotten to that interview, I already had those skills kind of embedded in me. Not even just from working in Hollywood, just from previous jobs that I had prior to even moving out to LA. And so that's how I got my showrunner's assistant job, and it has been great ever since. Okay, y'all, that is it. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please leave them below. And just remember, if you are going from home to Hollywood, you got this. Okay, I'll talk to y'all later.